So my name is Bob Stewart. Again, welcome everybody to ActiveRain University. If you wanted to talk to me, rave about how fantastic I did, or maybe complain about how horrible I was today, you can do that by talking to me on Twitter at ActiveBob, or you can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/ActiveBob. Again, this is going to be our blogging blueprint series. At the end of the class, I'm going to ask you guys what you would like to see in some of these subsequent blogging blueprint classes that we may offer. So the first one we did was on creating market reports and community or neighborhood blog posts. Today we're going to talk about creating a blog post for your listing, and then you guys are going to kind of set the course for what we decide to do probably after the first of the year. This is going to be, we've got one class next week for ActiveRain University, and then we're going to let you guys take a little break for the holidays, enjoy your family, and we'll be back at the beginning of the year for the next blogging blueprint, and we'll restart the blogging bootcamp classes as well. So here is your blueprint. That's it. Thank you. Goodbye. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to talk about this now, right? So you guys, I'm going to go through and we're going to kind of break this post down. And so on the left-hand side there, I mean, I've got notes for kind of what each section of a listing should look like, what is the purpose of each section of the listing, but it all starts with our title. And so let's talk about kind of that first piece of our listing blog, which is going to be our descriptive title. Okay, so in the case of my example here, and if you wanted to actually follow along on my example, maybe I can have Carrie jump over here. Carrie, in the ActiveRain University blog, this demo blog post here that I'm using as the example, if you wanted to send this link out, people could actually follow along from this link, or you can just watch my slides as we kind of go through each section. But the very first piece we're going to look at is going to be the descriptive title. And in my case, I've used waterfront condo for sale in West Seattle. And the reason I did that is because I want to make sure that my title is based on some descriptive element of the listing itself. There's a few things that I never want to use in my title, and the first thing that I see a lot of people use in their title line would be the address. If you're using the address in your listings, you're missing the mark on anybody who might be looking for a listing similar to yours that isn't your specific listing, because in our SEO class we talk a lot about how the title of our blog post is going to drive the search engines in terms of how they decide to display that piece of content. And so if we use our address and somebody types our address, there's a decent chance that we're going to be found on the first page of the search engine. But look, if somebody knows the address of your listing, I promise they're going to find it. Okay, and a lot of times they're going to find it on sites like Trulia, Realtor.com, Realestate.com, Zillow, Homes.com, right? Some of these big box sites that spend hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars on search engine optimization, and they're always ranking on that first page for some of the more common terms. Don't use the address. Okay, we want to have a descriptive title that describes the property, so that if somebody's looking for a home like ours, but not necessarily for our exact listing, there's still the potential that they're going to find it. So in my case, I used waterfront condo for sale in West Seattle. Okay, you want to pick out some component of your listing, and we have a class that we just did yesterday on keyword phrases where we talk about some of the different ways that you could potentially describe your listing. So we want to use a phrase that someone might search for. Okay, a lot of times it's going to be based on like a feature of the home. So in this case, it's a waterfront condo. Okay, and it's for sale in West Seattle, and that's kind of a little bit more specific geography than just Seattle. We're talking about a kind of a particular area in Seattle, but we're never going to use the address. The other thing that I see people do that you want to try to avoid, or you absolutely want to avoid, you don't want to try to avoid it, is they'll use the flowery description, right? Like fantastic condo in a great neighborhood. Well, that might be what it is, and that might be very descriptive of it, but it's missing a very important component of a good title, which is the geography. Okay, so try to avoid those kind of flowery descriptions that don't really drill down and kind of specifically describe your listing or a type of listing like yours. So we're always, everything we do with our blog, if we're thinking in terms of ranking in the search engines, is going to kind of start with that title. So once we've placed the title in there and we start to get into the body of the blog post, the very first thing that I'm going to suggest that you have in the post is a link that allows them to search for similar properties. Okay, so you'll see at the top of our post, the first line is going to say, search current inventory of waterfront condos for sale in Seattle. And it might even be better that I had, waterfront condos for sale in West Seattle, but the anchor text that I use on that link is going to either exactly match or very closely match the descriptive title that I use. Because I want them to know, if they land on my post, and here's what happens when people are looking at listings, and this is, if you've ever done Craigslist ads, or you've done effective Craigslist ads, one of the things that you want to try to do is you're not necessarily going to give them the whole ball of wax up front so that they can disqualify the listing, because on Craigslist at least, people are looking for reasons to disqualify the listing. They're looking for reasons to say, this is not the listing for me, and if our particular listing doesn't happen to be the listing for them, maybe they can't afford the $685,000 price that they see when they first land on this waterfront condo. We want to give them a chance to search for other properties in that area, and we want to make it kind of the first thing that they see. Now, why? Because it's going to lead them back to our IDX, okay, and it's going to give us a chance to capture them as a lead. So, a powerful IDX will allow us to create these kind of very specific searches where we're dropping somebody onto a search page on our website that's showing them listings similar to the one that we were talking about in our blog post. So we're going to use keywords for that link as the anchor text, and it's going to be that first piece of the listing. Okay? The second piece of the listing is going to be our basic property details. Okay, so our listing details, you'll notice in there that I restate the title. And the reason I do this is because somehow I want to get to 3 to 5 usages of my keyword phrase, and we know that from our SEO class. My keyword phrase is waterfront condo for sale in Seattle. Okay, so I want to restate my title, and I've got it just kind of tucked there under that listing details header. But then I'm going to come in, I'm going to give them some of the details about the listing. I'm going to give them an address. I'm going to give them a price. And one of the things that I need to be careful with the price is, when you do a lot of your I guess online advertising is going to stem from or come out of your MLS entry, right? So when you put the listing in the MLS, it's going to get fed out to all of the different places that your MLS might connect to. So the big box places, the Zillows, the Trulias, the Realtor.coms, it's going to go out to all of those places. And when you make updates to the price, so if there's a price reduction and you change the price, it's going to reflect across all of those places. And I guess we all know that some of them update sooner than others, but eventually the price is going to get updated for anything that's connected to my MLS. And then we have to realize our blog post obviously is not connected to our MLS. So if we're going to include the price in there, we need to make sure that we would potentially come back and update it. Now, there's kind of a strategy around excuse me, marketing a property, and a lot of you may do this on your flyers, and that's to withhold the price. Right? You want somebody, like in a flyer scenario, to text your text capture or your call capture number so that you can create a lead out of that to get the price, or you want them to call you to get the price. You may consider doing something similar in your blog post where you would have something like price, call to see the current price. So just know that withholding that information is probably going to result in more calls. But you may be one of those people that says, look, I'm not interested in doing that to kind of trick somebody into becoming a lead for me. That's fine. Just realize if you are one of those lead generation machines, withholding the price here may be something that you consider. And then they can always be able to click through, and we're going to give them a chance in a little bit to click through to the actual listing on our website itself. So that's somewhere that they could go and get the price. And it may be that you actually include that link in this area, to see the price, click here, which would send them back to your IDX and give you a chance to capture them as a lead. Then we're just give them a couple of other basic pieces of information, right? Maybe the MLS number, the number of bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage. whatever you guys think is important to kind of get in that snapshot of the listing. But again, what's the term, like opening your kimono? You don't want to just show them everything right off the gate or right out of the gate so that there's no reason for them to need to click through potentially to your IDX, or there's more reasons for them to disqualify this as something that they maybe are not interested in. The next little piece there is going to be a phone call to action. So we always want to, even though on your blog, your phone number is going to be located in some different places. It might be located, it's going to be located on the right-hand side of your blog if it's an ActiveRain blog. It's going to be located sometimes in your signature line. You want to make sure that, real quick, especially after they've kind of gotten the basic details, that we give them a chance to make it real easy to reach out and talk to us. And again, if you, similar to how you might use text messaging as a less threatening way for somebody to get additional details at the property, like from your signs, you may choose to use text messaging as a way for people to get additional information, or maybe you have text messaging set up where people can arrange a showing in that fashion as well. But you could use either one of those components here in this phone call to action area right below where we're going to leave the listing details. Okay, the next piece, we're going to describe the home. And this is, for a lot of you guys, you want to make it easy, right? You say, okay, well, I've done all this. I've put this thing into the MLS, and I've taken the time to write the description. But in the description here on your blog post, I really want you to think about, make sure somebody realizes what it's going to be like to live in this house. Okay, and a lot of times what happens in our MLS descriptions is we're limited to the number of characters we can use. So we use shorthand, we use things that are really easy for other realtors to understand, or we use things like 3BD/2 BTH, 3 bedrooms, 2 bath. But we want to make sure that the words that we're using when we describe the home in our blog post are fully written out, and that a consumer can kind of easily digest the story of the home. Okay, so we're not going to use that just straight, copy and paste MLS description. We're not going to use shorthand. We're actually going to write this thing out in paragraphs and sentences. And one of the reasons we do that is because the search engines are getting a heck of a lot better at understanding, just written language. So they can identify that this thing was done by a real live person, and it was, written in a manner that the consumer who lands there is going to understand it a little better, right? It's done in sentences and paragraphs. It's not shorthand. It's using full written words like bedrooms and bathrooms as opposed to 3BD and some of the things that a lot of us use in our descriptions on the MLS, because again, we're limited by characters. We're not limited here. Okay, so we want to make sure that we very adequately describe the home and give somebody a sense for what it would be like to live there. Is this going to take you a little bit of extra time? Yes. But is it going to be worth it? Yes, right? If somebody lands there, we want to make sure that they get a really good, solid idea of what it would be like to live in this house. Okay, so the next piece, and again, you guys could be following along here on the blog post itself to kind of get you a little bit more complete view of what we're talking about and how these elements all kind of fit together. The next piece is going to be a couple of images, okay? And what I would suggest with the images is don't use more than 2. Okay, I realize that images are a very important factor in getting people to, to fall in love or to become interested with a particular listing, because they kind of show you what the thing is going to look like. Look at it. They're just very important. Okay, I realize that, but let's use our images as another way to drive them back to our website to get kind of the full kimono look, right? To get all of the, if you've got 15 images back on your website, great. We're going to show them 2, and then we're going to give them a chance to go back to a place where we can more easily capture their information and create a prospect or a lead out of them on our IDX, right? So which 2 photos? Here's what I would suggest. I would have that kind of intro photo that most of you are going to use as kind of photo number 1 on the MLS, which is generally going to be the picture of the front of the house. Okay? The second image then I would suggest be the feature that we're going to talk about in the next paragraph. And so with your blog post and with your listings, right? We're going to try to identify one feature that's kind of that, man, you got to buy this listing because it has this awesome something in it. Okay, we'll talk about that in the next paragraph, but we want that second photo to be of that. And in this case, I used the amazing gourmet kitchen as the feature of the home that I'm going to fully describe and really bring to life in the next paragraph. So that's going to be one of the photos that I use. More photos can, I guess it's better, but we want to use this as an opportunity to potentially drive them back to our listing on our website, right, for lead capture opportunities or for more lead capture opportunities. And so right here below the listing or below the photos, we're going to have a link in here that says click here to see additional images of this West Seattle view condo. Okay, this secondary link, and this is going to be the second time we have a link in our post, we're not going to use that exact match keyword phrase. Okay, we're going to use something kind of similar but different for our anchor text. So in this case, I have additional images of this West Seattle view condo. Okay, so everybody's got that. It's pretty simple. So the next paragraph, we're going to describe that best feature, that second image that we chose to use. We're going to give it a full description, a full written description. It might be one paragraph, it might be 2 paragraphs. Okay, but we're really going to dive in and bring that feature to life. This is the reason why they have to buy this particular home. Okay, so in my case, it's the gourmet kitchen. I'm going to go in there and kind of paint a story of somebody, of having friends over and entertaining around the amazing island that's there. Hopefully you can find something in your listing to bring to life. If you have just an as-is and it's a knockdown, maybe you talk about the awesome remodel that they're going to be in store for. Whatever it is, right? You have to find something to kind of bring this listing to life. And, if you're struggling to figure this out, maybe this is a conversation you have with your sellers when you sit down, right? Mr. and Mrs. Seller, tell me the one thing you really just love about this home. And it could be that it's not necessarily a feature in the home. Maybe it's the big backyard, or it's, the awesome views, or it's the heated toilet seat. Like, I don't know what it is, right? Every listing is going to be different, but again, we just want to make sure that we really bring that one feature to life, and it's going to be that same feature that we use for that second image just above this particular section of the listing. Okay, so the next portion, we're going to talk about the area, the community, the subdivision, the condo complex that the listing is located in. Okay? So every time you take a listing, there's going to be 2 blog posts that I would suggest you write if you haven't done them already. The first one's going to be this listing post that we're talking about right now, but maybe that's not the first one. Maybe the first one should be a full blog post about the area that our listing is located. So in this particular case, my listing's in West Seattle, but it's actually in the Lincoln Park area of West Seattle. And Lincoln Park would be like the subdivision or the neighborhood of West Seattle that this listing is located in. So I'm going to describe for them in the post Lincoln Park. But I want to have written another post about Lincoln Park itself. Okay, and in our first blogging blueprint series, we did blueprints on writing these types of community posts. So every time I take a listing, I'm going to say, look, do I have something in my, in my storehouse of knowledge, in my blog already about Lincoln Park? Right? If I don't, I'm going to create that piece of content. Once I do, then in my listing, as I'm describing Lincoln Park, I'm going to kind of, summarize it, right? It's not going to be the full form blog post that I've written about Lincoln Park, but it's going to be, how does this home fit into Lincoln Park? What are some of the things that are nearby? What does the homeowners association do? It's just going to give them an idea of who the neighbors are, what's going on around the area, what kind of schools do the kids go to, right? But it's not going to be quite as developed as my post just about Lincoln Park. But somewhere in there, I'm going to link back to my kind of full form post about the community or the area. Now, if you had never chosen to do this, and I see this all the time, I see people's blog posts ranking when they're talking about a particular listing for the community that the listing's in. So people will be in there doing homes for sale in Lincoln Park, Seattle, right? And my blog post for my listing comes up. That's fine. It would be better if we had kind of that timeless Lincoln Park listing or Lincoln Park blog post out there that they could find in that scenario if they were just looking for stuff in Lincoln Park. The reason that we linked from this post to the Lincoln Park post is because at the end of the day, we want that Lincoln Park post to be the one that performs better in the search engine. And these kind of subtle links from other posts, right, our listings, back to that main kind of anchor timeless community post are going to keep that post propped up in the search engines. So this kind of final full form paragraph is going to be about the community, the area, the subdivision, the condo complex that our listing is located in. Or I guess it's in which our listing is located would be the proper English on that one. And again, here's the link to the full blog post on this community. I want to make sure that we're using the anchor text. Simple stuff. Okay, the final piece of this is going to be another link for them to find similar homes in the area. Okay, so at the very start of our blog post, right, at the very start of our blog post, we had a link for them to find other waterfront condos for sale in Seattle, because right when they get here, if they disqualify this thing and they say, oh, this isn't the one I'm looking for, they can easily kind of find other similar properties. They've read through our particular listing, okay, if they want to find other homes in the area, if something in here disqualified the listing, okay, we want to make it real easy again for them to find similar properties in the area. And again, this is just driving them back to our IDX. I've done classes in the past. We'll do another one next week about lead capture and calls to action, but this is going to be, if this was my particular blog post, where do you think these links would be going? Let's take a look here. Mine are going to be going to the 34 waterfront condos in Seattle. Okay, so I have a search set up right now for condos on the waterfront in Seattle. That's where the search is going to be going. Okay, the same thing's going to be happening for this link down here at the bottom, find similar homes in the area. I'm going to have it landing on an exact page, right? I'm not going to land them on the home search page and make them try to figure out what's a similar home in this area, right? I've already performed the search for them for condos in Seattle that are on the water. This is going to be the page that I link to, right? These 34 condos on the water in Seattle. Were you guys the type in class that, like, if it was an hour-long class and the teacher let you out halfway through, you were like, yeah, woo, I get to have something else to do with my day. I'm done. Okay, there's not a lot to this. I think the most important thing that I'll just reiterate before we leave, or before I take some questions from you guys, is make sure the title is something that somebody might potentially search for and it describes your listing or a listing like yours. Right? We don't want it to be that real direct 123 Main Street, right? Or we don't want it to be that super generic, amazing condo with breathtaking views. Okay? We want it to be a descriptive of our condo or a condo or a home like ours. Waterfront condo for sale in West Seattle. Okay? Link to our website where they can find other similar homes. Quick details, right? Not the full kimono. Okay? Call to action, phone call to action, could be a text call to action if you have that capability. Okay? Full description of the property. Okay? Tell the story of it. 2 images, right? With a chance for them to head back to our website, right? And if we head back here, here's the listing. Okay? If they wanted to view all the photos, they can do that. Right? I've got a chance in here to allow them to request a showing, or there's some lead capture opportunities in here. right? Description of that one feature that I chose to use as my alternate photo, description of the neighborhood with a link back, and then a chance for them, if they've disqualified my listing and they want to search for other similar homes, to head off and do that. The one last thing you want to make sure you do when you're posting your listings is don't just post and pray. And I've talked about this in some of the different classes we take, but we want to think about where is it appropriate out there to then go ahead and place our listing so that it potentially touches some of our social circles, okay? It's not going to be appropriate to place listings everywhere, right? You might not place every single listing you take on your personal Facebook page, but you may choose to do it on your business Facebook page. I would suggest that you definitely take the opportunity to post your listings on Google+. Okay? ActiveRain makes it real easy, or we make it real easy for you guys up here at the top to kind of share on Google+, or share on LinkedIn, or tweet your post out. Okay, so you want to make sure that you're getting it into these places. If you have lists set up on Facebook, maybe you choose to share it with a list. Okay, maybe you've got a prospects list for people that you're connected to on Facebook that are, you know, thinking about buying in the next 120 days or something. Maybe you have leads where this listing would be a great fit for that lead, right? You've got somebody that's been on your website recently and they've been looking at condos between $600,000 and $700,000 in Seattle, right? This might be an opportunity for us to send something to a particular lead that we have, and a real strong IDX is, you know, we're going to be able to look and know kind of what our leads are doing and what types of properties they're looking at, what types of searches they have set up on our website. If we have something like that, this may be an opportunity for us to send a blog post out to a particular person, right? Where we're really identifying somebody in our prospects, in our sphere, in our database that's interested, that we think would be interested in this type of a property, right? Take an opportunity to get that property in front of somebody who might actually buy it. Okay, maybe you've got a community fan page. Maybe I had a fan page set up for Lincoln Park, the area in which this listing is located. Well, I may choose to share it on that community fan page. So always kind of think about, you know, where are the appropriate places out there other than just in my blog that I can take that post and share it so that it kind of creates that ripple effect and more people get a chance to look at this thing. Let's take some questions. Does anybody have any questions about anything that we've talked about? So Lisa says, why Google+? Carrie, here, I'll do it. I'll give you the short answer for why Google+, and while I'm giving you that short answer, I'll pull up the longer answer. You guys are going to get to see Carrie probably try to kick off here. Now I'm going to pause her. The short answer for why Google+ is because it impacts the people that we're connected to's search results, and Google is also starting to just take these social cues and they're slowly starting to work them into the overall Google algorithm. So we have a class in here using Google+ to increase your traffic. So on our YouTube channel, we talk for 45 minutes or something about why to put any of your content over to Google+. But the main reason would be I want to reinforce to Google that I'm a real person sharing real information. If I'm connected to people, if anybody +1s this thing, it's going to start to send these social cues to the search engine that says that this is a piece of content that's worthy of being served up in your results. Google, as a social network, right, owned by Google, Google+ is a place where I would be sharing almost every piece of content that I'm writing, especially if it's keyword related, because it reinforces to the search engine, to Google's main search, right? This is a good piece of content. So Lisa, if I would suggest maybe watching this. He gives some demo in here about how search engine results can be manipulated by us sharing content on Google+. The question, because it's coming up, how would we share in Google+? Well, I've got my blog. My browser is logged into Google+. So if I wanted to recommend this, here's what's going to happen. The how would be, okay, I'd come in here. Oops. Oh, I'd plus this on Google, and then I would come over here I'll change my image, right? I need to find, there it is. Let's use this one maybe, or we could even use the one of the front of the house, right? Then I want to get in here and say this is a, you know, an amazing waterfront condo that just hit the market in Lincoln Park, West Seattle. That's how, okay? Then I would just hit, now I want to share it with my public. I want to make that thing public. And then I might choose to share it with some of my other circles that I've created on Google+. But even if I didn't choose to share it with my circles, I would at least make it public. Then I would just hit share. That's now a piece of content that I've sent out to Google's social network, right? That's just going to reinforce to their main algorithm that I have good content about, you know, waterfront condos in West Seattle, right? Just like my title. Okay, so Rita says, where do you get a link that shows the like properties to send them after they look at your listings? She's talking about this. Where do I get this link right here? So like you, Bob, you sent them to a list of 34 properties in Seattle that are on the waterfront, 34 condos. Where would I get that? Well, there's companies out there, I guess, that offer this, and this wasn't meant to be a pitch, I guess, but like Market Leader, who's the parent company of ActiveRain, they offer these IDX sites. There's a bunch of companies that offer these types of sites. So I guess you get one. you go engage a company who offers these types of things. So Market Leader, RealtySoft, IDX Broker, Diverse Solutions. These are some of the companies that offer IDX in this fashion. Rita, I guess my suggestion to you would be, if there's any way next Thursday you can join us for the Calls to Action webinar, I talk a little bit more about these types of websites. Because if you're online, you're writing blog posts, you're trying to generate traffic that can turn into leads, it's absolutely essential that you have an IDX that does these sorts of things, that allows you to create these custom searches, that allows you, here, watch this one. Let's make sure I'm not logged in here. I don't think I am. Yeah. See, this is going to eventually, because I've already looked at a couple listings and I've been using this website as a demo, so it's placed cookies on my browser. It's eventually going to kind of create this call to action where they attempt to capture my name and my email address. And it's really important that my IDX have these capabilities. If the goal of my blog is to generate leads, I want to make sure that I have an IDX, a powerful IDX behind it that does some of these things. I could do this all day long, but we have a class somewhere in our YouTube that talks about IDX, and it's way back here because I haven't done it for a while, and maybe it's time for us to do this sort of a class again, or I think I do. I'll have to find that IDX class. What was that called? Powerful IDX. Let's see if I can find it on ActiveRain University. Sorry for the side step here. Powerful IDX recording. Somewhere in here, I promise you, is a class I did about, oh, here it is, the essentials of a powerful IDX system. Does this have the recording? Yay, there it is. Here, I'll send you, if you're interested in IDX in general and kind of the way that I'm leading back to searches and different things, Lisa or Rita, I'll send you that link there. I guess I could send it out to everybody, or maybe Carrie. No, here, I'll send it out to everybody. That IDX class talks about these elements here that I have in there, this kind of these searches, these ability to generate leads, some of the other things that a really strong IDX can do for you. And really in my opinion, the foundation of lead generation on the internet is a strong IDX. And so if you're only utilizing your MLS right now, you really need to think about having an IDX. And that just means a website that displays listings. Let's see if Carrie says, if you are listing a lot, or the question comes in from someone, if you are listing a lot of houses in the same area, are you repeating the same title? There is not a lot of difference in the areas. I would say no. If you're listing a lot of houses in the same area, start to think in terms of different ways that you can describe similar houses. So if I had 15 listings that were waterfront condos for sale in West Seattle, here's how I would start to do that. The next condo I took that was right next door to this one, it would be a waterfront condo for sale in Lincoln Park. The next one after that would be a town or a water view condo for sale in West Seattle. The next one after that would be a condo for sale on Alki in West Seattle. The next one, and I would just start to vary the keywords based on like waterfront, view home, water view. I might have condo for sale with gourmet kitchen in West Seattle. I might have, and I would just start to look in here. How do I describe this thing, right? Condo, at some point I actually call it a townhome. So I might say waterfront townhome in West Seattle, right? So there's home for sale with 3 bedrooms in West Seattle. Home for sale over 3,000 square feet in West Seattle. Home for sale, right? There's all these ways. And in our keyword class, I talk about, you guys can get that. Right, here we go. I'm going to call today's class me pimping our YouTube channel. Right here, this unlocking the secrets to keyword phrases. I talk about all kinds of different ways that you can describe a property. That's a good question. This is another. What do you think about embedding RealBird website into a blog post? If you're using RealBird, I think that's a fine way to kind of give them a chance to see additional properties or to get additional information about that particular property. If I was ever going to embed something, let's say I wanted to embed a video, right? I can embed a video. It would be something that I did lower here towards the bottom of the post. If I was going to embed RealBird, I would still do this. I would still write about my particular listing because I'd want it to rank for something in the search engines, but as a reinforcement, as a way to keep them on the page longer, as a way to potentially capture them as a lead, I would definitely use RealBird if you're familiar with that, but I would have it down here at the end of the blog post. Okay, anything I was going to embed, I want to embed a Google map that showed where it was located. I want to embed a YouTube video that I did, maybe either about Lincoln Park, the neighborhood, or about, if I did a video for my particular listing. These would be things that I would add down here at the bottom of the post itself. Somebody asked the question, is there an advantage to having your blog hosted on a different domain than your IDX? Yes, there is an advantage. The advantage is the links that you would get back to your IDX website. So these links right here, like this link right here, where I link back to my site and I tell the search engine that my site has a page on it that's about waterfront condos for sale in Seattle, that's really important because ActiveRain has a lot of authority with the search engines. So any links that I create out of ActiveRain back to my IDX are going to help my IDX perform better in the search engines. So the idea that kind of in our SEO class, we look at like the pyramid. I do a slide that has the pyramid of good search engine optimization. At the bottom, you have content, and then the next piece is links. Backlinks are a big deal. Okay, so when we have our blog inside of our IDX website, what happens is any links that we create out of there become internal links. They don't help our IDX site perform as well in the search engines. So the people that get really good at this, they have an IDX site, they have a separate blog site. You're going to see agents, a lot of the real, powerhouse agents that I know, they've got multiple websites. They've got their IDX because they realize their IDX is all about lead capture. Okay, that's going to be where they're kind of their buyer site. Then they've got maybe like a seller site that's got, you know, how awesome they are, and it's got their marketing plan on it. It's got all their awards and how many listings they took last year and how their number, you know, top 5% in the country, and it's got all those things that a seller would want to know about them, right? But the buyers don't care about that. They just want to see the listings, so they just have the IDX for that. Their blog then becomes this kind of resource for information, becomes a way that they generate backlinks to their IDX or to their seller sites. Someone asked, what about changing content on blog
Bob,
posts?
real quick, can you define what an IDX is for everyone, please?
Yes. IDX, the term is information data exchange. It is the feed that the MLS gives for you to display listings on your website. So in this particular scenario here, these listings, this is a live site we're looking at. I mean, it's a demo site for Market Leader, but this is live. These properties right now are actually for sale today. They are coming from right here. Properties with this icon are courtesy of the Northwest MLS. So the Northwest MLS is the MLS in Western Washington in the greater Seattle area. And in order to get a feed of listings, right, I get what's called an IDX feed from the MLS. And an IDX feed from the MLS allows me to display listings on my website from other competing and cooperating brokers. So these aren't just the listings on my site from my brokerage or from me. These are the listings, and you can see here every MLS has rules around how the cooperating members can share their listings. So the rules for the MLS say you have to have the listing brokers or brokerage's name on each listing. So you'll see here that this is a Windermere listing, this is a home destination listing, right? This is a Sotheby's listing. The IDX feed that Market Leader is taking in from the MLS is what allows me to display listings on my website. So when I say IDX, I'm essentially talking about the website you have that allows you to display listings. And whether or not you know it, if you have a website that allows you to display listings from your MLS, it's being done via an IDX feed, okay? And then there's companies out there that will take the feed on your behalf and display it on your website. Companies like Market Leader, RealtySoft, IDX Broker. You know, there's a ton of these. In your particular MLS, you may have some different kind of smaller regional companies that do these things, but that's what IDX is. Okay, it's the ability for us to display listings on our website. Okay. I'm just kind of going through this. Somebody says, what is RealBird? RealBird's kind of a third-party service that allows you to feed your listings into it and display your listings. If you wanted to go to Active, any questions you have like this? The awesome thing about ActiveRain, like if I don't get a chance to answer your question, you can go to ActiveRain and search for just about anything. I mean, we're approaching, I don't know, 4 million blog posts that have been written. So there's Katarina Gassett uses RealBird a lot. And if I had a question about RealBird and as it related to ActiveRain, I would ask Katarina Gassett. But you could come in here and probably find a blog post or something. I mean, RealBird's pretty active on ActiveRain, so they actually talk in here in their blog about what they do and who they are. And if you wanted to really check them out, you could probably come over here to their profile and take a look at them to kind of get a good idea for who they are. But they're just they allow you to kind of create these cool pages out of your listings, and they've got embed codes and things that you can post around the internet on your blog or on your website to market your listings. Brian says, and this is, you know, there's lots of little tweaks that you guys can make to this, okay? Once you have kind of the foundation and you know the important pieces and you're thinking about this in terms of lead generation, right? Once we have that, then there's definitely some tweaks we can make. And Brian makes an awesome suggestion. He says one of the things you could do is out of one of these images, you could take a screenshot of a video. So it's got the little play icon right here, and then you could link that back to the video on your website. Yeah, that's definitely something you could do. You know, if you wanted them watching it on your website as opposed to watching it on YouTube or watching it in embed directly on the blog post, yeah, you could make one of these images a link back to a video on your site about the property. Now, you'd want to make sure it was kind of obvious, and you guys have probably all seen that where it's got the little arrow in here that kind of indicates that if they push play, they can click on that to play the video, and then it would just be a link back to your website. So there's lots of little tweaks that you could definitely make to these posts to kind of fit them to your style, to fit them to, you know, the different collateral that you may have created around the listing. So if it's a video, or if it's a slideshow, or if it's you know, the page on your website that you want to try to drive them back to. Robert says, if I have a blog on my website, is it more beneficial to blog the listing on AR and link back to my site, or should I just create 2 listing posts? Robert, I don't know that there's like a more beneficial. I would say, you know, some of it has to do with how much time do I have to spend on this stuff. If I'm trying to cover every single base and just get as much exposure out there as I can, I would say you definitely want to have your blog on ActiveRain, right? I mean, it's going to rank well in the search engines. If your own website is starting to really rank well in the search engines, you still want to get those good links out of your ActiveRain posts back to your own website. You know, I wouldn't just take the exact same piece of content and 100% duplicate it in 2 areas. So maybe what you do is you change this secondary feature and you write about something different when you write about it on your website. Maybe on your website you change and you kind of, you know, instead of this being the waterfront condo for sale in West Seattle, I would have it be the water view condo for sale in West Seattle, and then I would have, you know, search the current inventory of water view condos, and I would talk a little bit more in this area about the views as opposed to the waterfront. So I would change it up just a little bit. But, you know, it makes sense to have it in both places, but then it becomes a matter of how much time. Tanya says, is there a class that you offer that tells you how to get pictures in? Yeah. You know what? We're doing kind of an upgrade to the ActiveRain blog editor, and the adding of pictures is like at the top of my list because I struggle almost as much as you do, Tanya. And if you come in here to ActiveRain University and you click on video tutorials, there's a tutorial in here about inserting pictures. It's a pretty short one, but I think in there that I give you that. I'm pretty sure that in Carrie's class that she does every other Tuesday, she also talks about, let's see, classes. She's got this class in here about, no, we don't have it on the schedule. So after the first of the year, yes, we do have a class. It's a class we do every other Tuesday, and I think Christmas and New Year's have kind of gotten in the way of it being on the schedule right now. But it's called Creating Your First Blog Post. Let me go back and see. So she sent Carrie, that link you sent out is not for the blueprint. It looks like you actually sent the link for 500 homes for sale. So before we go here, I'm going to let you guys go in just 1 minute. If Carrie
I sent them both out. You mentioned this one, so I wanted them to have it too so they don't have a shortage of ideas. But the link before that is the blogging blueprint template. So
there you go. There's that template. The other thing then I have up for you guys is this ActiveRain University post at activerain.com/blogs/university, where you can actually see the post that I used. And I think if you wanted to just like take this and just copy it, if you just copied that and you actually started a new blog entry, I'm pretty sure that it would just drop right in there for you. And then you could come in here and you could just change your words. Because I've got like some header tags on here. I've got H1 header tags, H2 header tags in here. But you could actually just copy it right from my post and then get in here and create your own post. And then you'd obviously have to come in and switch your pictures out and switch out your description, and you would type your own description here. So if you really wanted the more like templated approach, just copy the post from the ActiveRain University blog and drop it into a draft post on your blog, and then you can kind of manipulate it as you need. Okay, that's it. That's it. Thank you. Goodbye. You guys have a fantastic weekend. Woo, it's Friday.